The next phase of the aggregation pipeline is the dollar match phase. Now, dollar match performs a filter on the documents as they pass through the pipe, and it has a reducing effect. So there might be n documents in for every one document out. It may pass all the documents, but it may pass some subset of the documents. And the reason you might want to match is because you'd like to filter the results and only aggregate a portion of the documents, or search for particular parts of the result set after you do the grouping. Now let's look at the zip code collection again, and let's say that I wanted to match only on documents that are in New York State. So the state of New York, which is NY. We can do that with this expression right here. So db.zips.aggregate, and we open our square brackets. Again, this is a pipeline, but we're only going to have one item in the pipe right now, one stage, and that's the match stage. And then here you can see the syntax is very similar to that of a find. Basically, I specify that I would like the state to be New York. And this is a simple selection of the items where the state is New York. And if I do that, this is what I get. And you can see that what it's done is find only the zip codes that are located within New York State. And once I do that, I might want to do a grouping and figure out what the population of each city is. If you recall, a city can have multiple zip codes within it, multiple postal codes. So we have to aggregate across the cities, a group by the city, to get the population of the city. So we'll look at that. Now, in this, we see a more traditional aggregation pipeline because it has multiple phases. First, we're going to match and find everything that is state New York. And then we're going to group and create a new set of result documents. We're going to group by $city by specifying the underscore ID is $city. And then we're going to create a population key, which is the dollar sum of $pop from those documents. We're going to add up the population. And then, just for fun, we're going to also keep track of all the zip codes that appear in that city by doing an add to set. And if we do that, we will get this result here. Okay. So we can see that New York City has a lot of zip codes in it and a pretty big population. According to this, it says it's 1.4 million. So this data set considers Manhattan to be New York and the other four boroughs, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and Staten Island, to be separate cities, because the overall population of New York City is about 8 million. But this New York means Manhattan, for those who know their American geography and are aware of the population. And this data set's also a few years old. And you can see here all the different populations of the different cities in New York. Now, let's say we wanted to reshape this document to be a little bit prettier. In particular, we don't like that our city appears as an underscore ID, but instead we want it to say the word city. So now that we understand the project operator, we can certainly do that. So let's see how that works. Now there are three phases to our pipeline. First, we're going to match on the state being New York. Then we're going to group by city and get the population. And finally, we're going to project a little bit. We're going to suppress the underscore ID. We're going to create a new key called city and use the underscore ID field. And then we're going to just pass through the population. And here we could have just been population :1. It would have been the same result. And zip codes :1. So if we do that, what do we get? You can see this is a little bit prettier result. So now I have population, zip code, and city. Interestingly, although I specified them in a different order, it didn't change the order in the document. So that's an interesting thing to note. I specified city, population, zip, but I got out something that looks like population, zip, city, which means that I guess MongoDB, when it's doing that projection, it doesn't necessarily impose the order that you provide in the projection. And just to confirm that it wouldn't have mattered whether I wrote $population or $population1, let's just change that to be just a 1 and see if that works the same way. I think it should. And yeah, it does. It works exactly the same way. All right, there we go. And that's how that works. All right, so now let's do a quiz, and you are going to write a $match. So thinking again about the zip code collection, which we've been playing with, write an aggregation query with a single match phase that filters for zip codes with greater than 100,000 people. And you may need to look up the use of the $greater than operator if you've forgotten how to do that. I put a link to it here in the docs. The way I found this, by the way, is by typing $GT space MongoDB into Google. So Google is your friend when it comes to looking up the MongoDB documentation. So write that query right here.